Hello there once again, my ever faithful internet audience. It is I, the Chicken Man, back at it again with another Apex Legends patch note video. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read so you don't have to. Now, half of these patch notes are things that we've already gone over here on the channel, so I'm not gonna go over them again. What I want to focus on is the changes to the weapons, the characters, and even the ring itself. Now, while we're going over all the changes, the gameplay in the background is from the new LTM Olympus preview. It's the friendly mode where you get to just explore the map. So while I'm reading these off, I'll try not to take up too much of the screen. I want you guys to enjoy the new map. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started with some quality of life updates. Attachment swap improvements. When replacing an attachment with one from the ground, if the old attachment is an improvement for your other weapon, the old attachment will automatically get transferred. Such a small yet important change. No more fumbling around in your backpacks and boxes trying to get the right thing on the right weapon. It's now done for you. Thanks, Respawn. Very cool. Up next, we have replicator updates. For Season 7, we have removed weapons from the crafting pool and replaced them with shield batteries. The high-level attachments will still be tailored towards a weapon category. Also, we now prevent other players from picking up items that you crafted for the first 5 seconds after crafting. This can be disabled by pinging the item. I'm sure many of my loot goblins out there are rejoicing right now. No longer do they have to worry about their fellow loot goblin teammates yoinking their precious loot that they painstakingly crafted in a replicator system. And I'm a huge fan of having the batteries in there too, because I don't know what it's been for the past couple weeks, but I swear I have been finding more Phoenix kits than batteries. So now I have a 100% guaranteed way to collect some batteries. Up next, we have a section called Airdrop Clarity and Miscellaneous. The colors of the beams have been changed to differentiate between normal airdrops, lifelines airdrops, and replicator airdrops. Normal drops are a light tan, lifelines drops are blue, and replicator drops are teal. All of the airdrops landing area effects while it's coming down is going to match its colors. And on top of that, those airdrop beams that usually go away when you get close to them, well, those beams are going to stay on top of the airdrop until you open the package. So now you won't accidentally give away your position by walking by a care package. You have to make the conscious decision to open that bad boy. And now the miscellaneous things in rapid fire form. The Arcstar now shows an Arcstar model when one is thrown near you instead of a grenade. Added a new voice line when you're using a Phoenix kit. Added a new voice line when you drop a hollow spray. You can now ping ammo in your inventory to request more from your squad. And finally, they made modifications to the ring to reduce the amount of unplayable space in the circles. Up next on our list, we have map rotations. Starting with the regular map rotation, for 2 weeks, Olympus will be the only map you can play on. After that week, we go into a normal rotation between Olympus and World's Edge. We will be vaulting Kings Canyon for the time being. And for the ranked rotation, the first half of the ranked split will be played on Olympus, and the second half is going to be played on World's Edge. Now, while I am sad to see Kings Canyon go, I can't be that sad about it because we have this brand new, ginormous, huge map to play on, so it kind of balances itself out. But on the for real, can we get some Fs in the comment section? Kings Canyon was pretty good, so just press F to pay your respects. Alrighty then, we're moving on to the legend meta. Now, we talked about this the other week. We did confirm a few legends that were getting some buffs, but there's some legends in here that they weren't talking about, that we had no idea about. They got some buffs too. As a matter of fact, first one on the list is Bangalore. Now, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing insane. She's not going to move at like Mach 5 when she's going into double time or anything like that. It's just something simple, but it is still appreciated nonetheless. Rolling Thunder, reducing the time it takes for the explosions to happen from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. And the dev note to go along with it, not much to say here. Rolling Thunder will continue to function primarily as a zoning ability, but with a somewhat shorter fuse. It will encourage enemies to leave the zone slightly faster. Now, I know there's a few of you out there, my Bangalore mains. I know you're getting your Twitter fingers ready right now. You're cracking them. You're getting ready to type up those angry tweets like, oh, this many seasons and this is all we get? I just have to politely ask really quick, hold your horses, okay? Look, we got a buff. We finally got a little something. It's a step in the right direction. You can still ask for additional things to happen, but all I ask, friends, is just stay respectful. That's it. You don't need to flame anybody. You don't need to grill anybody incessantly. You can still ask for buffs and question decisions without personally insulting someone, okay? You can have a somewhat intelligent discussion without having to insult someone's mother or question their work ethic. I'm not asking for much, friends. Just keep it respectful. Now that I've said my piece against toxicity, well, it's time for toxicity to get a buff. That's right, Caustic. Well, I say buff, but it's also like a slight rework as well. Your gas traps and your gas grenades. Legends no longer get a blurred vision effect while in the gas, but the damage updated from 4 to 10 ticks of damage to 6 to 12 ticks of damage. And here's the corresponding dev note. Fighting in caustic gas is one of the most frustrating things in Apex Legends, and yet we need the gas to represent a meaningful threat or else enemies will just ignore it. With this change, we're attacking what we think is the greatest contributor to this frustration, the fact that your vision is blurred while you're in the gas. This made it extremely hard to fight back. To make up for lost power, we're upping the damage from the gas just a little bit. I don't really have much more to say about Caustic, other than we'll see how this actually plays out here on the new map. Up next on the list, the Bamboozle King himself, Mirage. All of his bamboozles, his decoys, whether it be from his tactical or his ultimate, they all now have 45 health. Our Bamboozler in Chief is a hard legend to keep relevant. Every time we make a change to decoys, there is a clear uptick in usage and power as Mirage mains learn how to use their new tools. And then as the rest of the world catches on and starts being able to tell the real Mirage from his equally handsome holographs, that uptick disappears. This time around, we want to try and make it a little bit harder to clear out decoys. We're giving them health, but to make this very clear up front, they will not work as a shield. While they take damage from bullets, the bullet also passes through them and hits whatever's behind them. This is what we call the hallway test. You should not be able to win an engagement against an enemy in a straight coverless hallway by snap casting a decoy and having said decoy eat an entire wingman shot. Decoys will also play unique hit effects and briefly flicker out of existence when taking damage to help you differentiate between them and the real Mirage. Now friends, I am optimistic about this change, but I feel like exactly what they said in the justification is going to happen again in a couple of weeks, so try and have as much fun with this while you still can. Moving on to the next legend, we have Octane getting a buff to his passive. Swift Men doubled healing rate from 0.5 heals per second to 1.0 heals per second. Octane is a legend for players who like to go fast, run face first into the enemy, and get knocked down a lot. We think that's absolutely fine. The fact that his trio's win rate isn't great doesn't really bother us because both his encounter win rate, think of that as his ability to score knockdowns, and his pick rate are very healthy. That said, we figured we could give him a little extra out of combat help. His passive's heal rate was very slow, requiring up to 200 seconds to fully heal your health bar. Basically, every single player that goes for high kill games, they're going to be playing Octane even more now. With this health regeneration, that is less downtime in between fights. During rotations, you're just going to passively heal and you'll probably be back up to full, ready for that next engagement. Next, we have Watson. Perimeter security, increased damage per touch from 10 to 15. Watson is the anti-Octane, not super powerful individually, not picked very often at all below plat, but an absolute must-have for competitive squads. We're also happy with that niche, but figured it would be safe to give her a little extra power in her best case, people running into her fences. We're aiming for this to bring up her power and attractiveness at lower levels of play especially, since we don't see a lot of players run into Watson fences in high skill matches. Well friends, best thing I can tell you after reading that, stay out of the fences. Now here's a buff I was not expecting to see. Loba. Black Market. Ammo taken no longer counts towards the black market's maximum. You can scoop up all the ammo in range. We're taking another swing at making Loba the ultimate legend to bring to solve all of your team's loot needs. we have heard your feedback that you want improvements to her tactical as well. And while that's certainly not off the table, our data suggests that her encounter win rate, how many knockdowns she gets compared to how many times she's knocked down across all matches, is quite healthy. It's her trio's win rate that's worryingly low. Make no mistake, this is a major swing at making Black Market powerful. And once again, for all my loot goblins out there, this is an update for you. Loba's definitely going to be living up to her thief name. After you guys set up shop, there's not going to be a single round of ammunition left on the entire map. This is going to be it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Next on the list, we have Rampart. Now, I'm happy about this one, because Rampart, she really needed some love. Sheila now takes 1.25 seconds to fully spin up, down from 2 seconds, and the amped wall now takes 3 seconds to fully build instead of 4 seconds. In patch 6.1, we made a small change to how long it takes Sheila to tighten her bullet spread. This didn't meaningfully increase her win rate. The other half of that change is in this patch. We do not want to change Rampart away from being a legend that requires setup, but we do not want to make it faster to set up. Amped Wall should remain a mostly out-of-combat setup ability rather than a reactive ability, and Sheila should remain an area denial tool rather than a murder machine. But like all things, these balance points exist on a spectrum, and with this patch, we're moving them slightly closer to reactive/murder machine territory. I'm a fan of these changes. I got to play Rampart a little bit during this little Season 7 preview. While she is technically closer to the murder machine category, I don't think we're going to see 100% Rampart pick rate, so no need to worry yet. Oh, you guys are going to love this next one, Pathfinder. Buckle up, friends. They go into extreme detail on this one. Pathfinder continues to be an overachiever in terms of win rate. The good news is that his grapple change in 6.1 didn't move his win rate by much. It went up 1% in total. We're doing two things this patch. We're adjusting his hitboxes, and we're putting in tuning for Grappling Hook that will firmly move it into buff territory. First up, hitbox. Pathfinder has a tall but extremely skinny hitbox. A lot of his model isn't actually shootable, and particularly his arms and legs do not represent a lot of shootable area either. Here's a before and after comparison of Pathfinder's hitboxes. As you can see, there's still a lot of negative space around his arms and legs. We're hoping that by making it a little easier to hit Pathfinder, we can bring his win rate under control to the point where we can put meaningful power into his kit. Because the question is sure to come up, we are not yet removing low profile from Pathfinder with this change. Even with the increased hitboxes, Pathfinder will still be considerably harder to hit than most other characters in the game. If this change does make a meaningful difference in terms of his win rate, we will drop low profile, but we really didn't want to take it off him this patch, only to have to put it back next patch when it turns out his win rate spiked. Now on to the Grappling Hook. We're making a number of changes to Grappling Hook. In 6.1, we shipped a very conservative version of this change. Now that we know this didn't meaningfully affect his win rate or, anecdotally, how frustrating it is to fight him, we're shipping the much more aggressive version of the change list. We also want to make it clear that players should not be punished for chaining Grappling Hook perfectly into other movement mechanics. Pathfinder no longer needs to be on the ground for Grappling Hook to be considered finished. The speed to which Pathfinder needs to drop for us to consider Grappling Hook finished was increased from 300 units a second to 500 units a second. The maximum cooldown grapple can be set to was lowered to 30 seconds from 35 seconds. The maximum amount of travel time before a new cooldown is set is now 5 seconds rather than being uncapped. This means that effectively you can never incur more than a 35-second cooldown. And finally, the amount of distance you can travel before you hit maximum cooldown was roughly doubled. All of that for a smiling refrigerator. Understandably so, because let's be real here, Pathfinder is one of the strongest legends in the game. Just from playing him the other week, he feels a lot better. Hopefully everything goes the way that Respawn is projecting it to, because I really want to see what some of these meaningful changes are. That's enough about the legends. Now we're moving on to the weapons. As many of you know, The R99 is now out of the supply drop. It'll be returning to the normal loot pool, and it has the same stats it had before it went into the supply drop at the start of Season 6. And for those of you that don't remember the stats, it'll be doing 11 damage per shot, and the ammo capacity being 20, 22, 24, and 27 for each tier of extended light magazine, going from white to purple. Now the supply drop Prowler. What are going to be the stats on that? Turns out, it has the same exact stats as it did before. Apparently it was already powerful enough to be a care package weapon. Despite the select fire hop-up being removed from the loot pool this season, the Prowler will still have the ability to change between 5-round burst and full auto. Your magazine size is going to be 35, and the amount of reserve ammo you have is 175. Moving on to our fully kitted weapons. Say goodbye to the gold Devo Mastiff Triple Take Flatline Bolt, and say hello to the new gold Wingman, Sentinel, Havoc, the G7 Scout, and Alternator. Looks like the Hemlock's going to be seeing some changes this season. They're going to be increasing the horizontal recoil of the first 3 shots slightly to the right, when it's being fired in burst mode, of course, increasing the recoiled magnitude in the later stages of the pattern, reducing the recoil multiplier in single fire mode to help compensate for the additional recoil in pattern. The recoil should mostly be increased in burst mode rather than the single fire mode. They're also reducing the headshot multiplier from the 2.0 value down to 1.75. So that's going to be doing 39 damage a headshot against a no helmet base character. The devs went on to say, while we are happy to see the Hemlock get more attention with recent buffs, we think it is a little too strong in Season 6. The effective range of the burst mode felt a bit too far, and the spike damage capabilities of a full headshot burst were too strong in high level play. Listen guys, I've been a Hemlock fan for a very long time now, and I hate to say it, but this nerf was completely justified. Our time of supreme authority over the meta, it's coming to a close, so go ahead, start getting yourself comfy with other weapons, because our time's up. Next, we have the Havoc with an updated recoil pattern, kicking up, then right, then left, then up again. Apparently this is going to be easier than the recoil pattern from last season, so fingers crossed, all my energy weapon users out there, you'll be able to use your Havoc once again. And while we're on the topic of energy weapons, the L-Star has received some changes too. The L-Star has a new recoil pattern that kicks horizontally at first and then settles into a relatively consistent upward recoil. Players who feather the trigger will be able to keep the L-Star in good portion of the recoil pattern. L-Star venting time after letting go of the trigger has been reduced from 0.4 seconds to 0.15 seconds. And lastly, the L-Star will now reduce heat faster when not overheated. 1.15 seconds from 99.9% to 0% charge if not overheated, and it is still 2.45 seconds if overheated. The L-Star had some limitations that caused it to feel worse than we'd like. The recoil pattern snaked back and forth, which was difficult to control reliably. Additionally, firing for short burst and then releasing the trigger repeatedly or feathering the trigger felt somewhat clunky due to the long venting time after firing and the slow heat reduction. So, we are reducing those pain points to improve the viability and feel of feathering the trigger, and adjusting the recoil pattern to reward players who can effectively control the L-Star's heat. Man, I can't wait to see Lobos running around the map with 2 L-Stars plopping down their black market and stealing all the energy ammo within a 5-mile radius and just never having to let go of the right trigger. Alrighty, up next. Oh hey, the Sentinel. It's like I made a video about this yesterday. Disruptor rounds are gone. Energized Sentinel now has a pure damage increase instead of a bonus damage only versus shields. Energized Sentinel base damage has been increased from 70 to 88. The Sentinel was still a bit weak. We think a good place to improve it is the Energize ability. It seems a bit too situational, only really being a benefit if the opponent has more than 70 shields. So, we are changing the Energize from a Disruptor anti-shield effect to an amp damage boost effect. I can't wait to amp up my Sentinel, take it behind a Rampart wall, and then just do an obscene amount of damage. Next on our list, we have the Triple Take. It has been nerfed. The fire rate is down from 1.3 to 1.2. The triple take is still performing a bit too well after the most recent nerf, so we're reducing the fire rate back to what it was before the 6.0 patch. We will be watching in the future to see how just the integrated choke, sniper ammo increase, and new popularity affect the weapon's performance. Just for the record, I'm completely okay with triple take nerfs because that means less of you guys will use it and there'll be more sniper ammo for me. Moving on to hop-ups. Introducing the new Quick Draw Holster Hop-Up. This new hop-up attaches to the Re-45 and the Wingman. When equipped, the gun becomes quicker to raise and lower. It takes less time to ADS and has reduced hipfire spread, particularly when not actively moving. This should open up new opportunities to use the two weapons, especially in close quarters combat. And to make room for the new hop-up, the Select Fire Receiver is now removed from the loot pool. On to our next topic, game meta changes. Evo armor is getting some pretty significant changes. We increased the requirements to evolve Evo armor in order to reduce the amount of players with red Evo armor during the endgame. Level 0 to 1 now requires 100 damage. 1 to 2 needs 150 damage. 2 to 3, 300 damage. And then from level 3 to 4, you need 750 damage. Now, not only is this a way to encourage players to be a little bit more aggressive in the beginning games or maybe hit a couple more of their shots, this can also encourage players to use the replicators more. With the map being as big as it is and the players being spread out a little bit more, you definitely want to try to give yourself as much of an advantage as possible going from fight to fight. Last on the list of significant changes, the ring damage has been reduced, except for ring 1, it's still 2% a tick. But if we go to ring 2, we'll see that it only does 3% per tick now. Particularly, this change should allow players enough time to pop a syringe if they are picked up in ring 2. Ring 3 is 5% per tick, rings 4 and 5 are now down to 10% per tick, and rings 6 and 7 are at 15% per tick. I'm sure this will change in the future, but for right now, it's a brand new map. And there's a lot of players coming back to Apex that probably haven't played the game in a long time, so they're gonna need a little bit of help adjusting to everything. So this is definitely something that needed to happen. And that's it, friends. That's all the patch. Well, that's half of the patch notes, and thank God we only covered half of them. Otherwise, we probably would have been here for an hour. Now, I will definitely be making individual videos showcasing certain things when the season actually drops. But in the meantime, I'll definitely have a few more early access videos for you guys to enjoy until the full release of Season 7 on November 4th. Alrighty friends, I know I went over a lot of information, but what was your favorite thing from the patch notes today? Please feel free to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, consider subscribing if you're new, enable those notifications and you'll never miss another chicken video ever again. I hope you all enjoyed this little patch note reading, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one.